390 years in the making. They said your zip code determines your destiny. They underfunded our schools, overcrowded our classrooms, and told our kids they weren't worth the investment. They lied. Our children are gifted, brilliant, and built for greatness, and I'm here to prove it. I'm Coach Jesse Lee. Welcome to the Jesse Lee Podcast. Through Lee's coaching and consulting, the Miles Preparatory Learning Center, and the Sadie Miles Foundation, we are tearing down every barrier between urban youth and the education they deserve. No exceptions, no excuses. Today we're getting into exactly how we're building that pipeline, from scholarship access to leadership development, and what it really takes to transform a community one child at a time. 390 years in the making. Let's go.
Hello. This is Coach Lee. Welcome to the podcast, 390 Years in the Making. Today I'm going to be talking about the documentary dream. That's what I'm going to be talking about, the documentary dream. All of these different episodes that came into place regarding my journey, regarding my grandmother's journey, different things like that, has contributed to this episode talking about the documentary dream, regarding my success, regarding my transition, regarding all these different things that's happening actually right now. So what I really want to talk about is the time where I was 7 years old and I had a calling. I was called, I was chosen, I was different, I was peculiar. And leading to today, all these things that happened towards today of me getting the Jesse Lee Day, of my grandmother having her own day, all those different things contributed to my life. And actually now people can ask questions, well, where did this person come from? And where was he born? And just different things like that. Like, how did he start, right? And these stories that came on different segments that I've been talking about, 390 years in the making, different things and journeys that I've been having experience with children, lessons from my grandmother, success, celebration, struggles that I've been through. All of these different things contribute to actually glimpse of my life and little excerpts of my life and different things that's happening in my life right now. That actually went all the way to my childhood from 7 years old. So I'm just so grateful that at this point, the documentary dream of me actually having my own documentary of myself, Jesse Lee, living in Bridgeport, Connecticut, born and raised in Bridgeport, Connecticut. I was transitioning from the east side of Connecticut, on Connecticut Avenue in that area. I lived on the west side. I lived on all different areas in Bridgeport. But me being an example from living through all those areas and transitioning from neighborhood to neighborhood, I learned a little bit each neighborhood that I've been through. The demographics, the different people that I've dealt with. For example, on the east side, there was a lot of Hispanic culture over there that I dealt with when I lived over there. I learned about community. I learned about people sticking together, having stores, their own businesses, different things like that. I learned about that. So everything was a learning tool for me during that stage as I lived on the east side. The west side, it was a little different. It was a little bit mixture. African Americans, it was some Portuguese, it was some Spanish, just different nationalities over there. It was like a little melting pot in the West End. And that was very interesting as well. My environment, I dealt with a lot of different people. I was able to just talk to people that, was in the same school as I was, people that was just hustling and bustling. They was just trying to do things, my peers, just to be successful in life and things like that. I also met people that was in the wrong crowd, and I had to learn how to be a leader. So when I was on the west end of Bridgeport, I had to learn how to be a leader, how to find my identity and not follow other people. That's so important these days. And the transition from the west end, and then I ended up going to the north end, They call that I don't know, the Beverly Hills of Bridgeport, right? The North End. That's what they call it. It was a mixture. It wasn't really. It was a little bit of mixture, but it was more Caucasians and different people, a different demographic. It was a quiet area, which was which was abnormal a little bit in some of the areas that I was in because there was a lot of noise in some areas, a lot of loud music, maybe on the East End or different areas that I've navigated through that I was kind of used to the noise. But when I got on the North End, it was quiet. People were, very friendly and nice. I was able to communicate with a different demographic, Caucasian people, different business owners, doctors, people, that transition with success, mostly one family houses in that area as well. So that was a different adventure of mine too. Even though I didn't live in a one family house, I lived in a condo. The community was so close knit that it was like we were embracing each other. We never had any fights in the area. Wasn't a lot of stealing or anything like that. I was even able to leave my door open at times, unlocked and open, and I was able to trust myself with just going back in the house, and my parents were comfortable and all those different things. So all those transitions and stages of life I was able to experience in Bridgeport. And this documentary dream of people actually learning my story of not only being a child, not only navigating through all the different neighborhoods and the different areas in Bridgeport, but also understanding me on a deeper level regarding my household, regarding my mom being a single parent. She worked 3 jobs. I saw her, but I didn't see her. She'll come late at night. I wake up early in the morning. She's gone because she was a CNA, so she was a certified nurse's assistant. So she went to work early in the morning all the way till late at night. So she was a single parent, and my father, they were together here and there. They were married together, so that was a good thing. But my father was an alcoholic. He went through a lot of different transitions. He did some things, he wasn't really present with me. So I didn't really have 100% that relationship with a male figure with my father. So that was a little bit difficult. And during this documentary stage, now I'm able to express myself regarding the absence of having a father that was stable and consistent, right? Having that stability. It's so important to have that stability in life. And me being raised with my mom as a single parent, and me being raised as waking up in the morning and not knowing what's going to happen next regarding, am I going to see my dad tonight? When is he going to come in? All these different things. And my mind was just racing 100 miles an hour because the stability of having a 2-parent household wasn't there, right? And getting a little deeper into my life regarding that perspective, that made me independent and more driven as well, because I had to learn on my own. I had to understand things. I had to figure out, okay, what does it mean to be a man, right? What can I do better? Or I had to read a lot of different things to figure out how can I be a strong, Black, African-American man who's not on drugs, who's not on substance, who's not running around, who's stable. So I put all of my energy into education. I remember in high school, I was a straight A student. I had a 3.8, 3.9 average. I was an overachiever. I put all that built up energy into being successful. So instead of doing the wrong thing, I decided to drive myself to do the right thing, to be successful. And I ended up becoming a perfectionist. Things end up being a little bit overboard, but in a positive way, that I was actually able to cope with my instability, to cope with different things that was going on in my household. I was able to cope with it better because I was able to get myself involved in school. And for the ones and for the children out there who's raised in a single parent home, who don't have any parents, who's maybe in a orphanage or a group home or whatever the case may be, there is a way out. There is a way out to be successful. And the thing that really gravitated to that the thing that I went to first was my relationship with God, because I was born and raised in the church. So that was the most important thing that really groomed me and protected me and kind of sheltered me into understanding and doing the right thing. That particular relationship with God at an early age of 7 years old, which I mentioned in the other episodes, of preaching and being in front of an audience and talking about the goodness of the Lord and listening to my spiritual advisor, Pastor Staley Miles, and doing all these important things, it grounded me and molded me. Even though I had an absence with my dad, right? I still had a connection with God, which helped me. So that was a great contributor into my success. So learning these things about myself as I became the first Black male in the United States to own an enrichment program after 390 years, now I'm able to dig deeper and people are able to get to know me more on a personal level since the episodes as we've been talking about what really happened in my life. And that is so important. And I remember at 17 years old, I remember me being a perfectionist and me trying to go out of my way to do everything I can to be the best that I can be. And I wanted to be a doctor and I wanted to go into medicine and I wanted to do all these things. And I remember an intense anxiety came on me. It was a strong anxiety and a shift of racing thoughts that kind of caused my mind to go into a roller coaster. I didn't know where it was coming from at that particular moment. But as I went to the doctor and I found out that was actually chronic anxiety. And I didn't know that I was suppressing all these years of all this pain and trauma and all these things that were going on in my life. I was actually suppressing this stuff. And this was causing the anxiety at the age of 17 as I was going strong all these years, going to school, communicating, doing all these great things. But it just hit me. Boom. It hit me like a truck. And it was like my mind just went into a mode that was not clear. I didn't understand myself. And at that time, at 17 years old, that's when I knew. And that's when I went back to my childhood. And that's when I started to understand that I did have pain inside me. A lot of things was going on with me that I was blocking out. And me knowing that at the age of 17, it was a little bit difficult because I didn't know how to deal with it. Having all these different emotions and being in the adolescent stage and trying to figure out my life and trying to figure out how to date and try to figure out what college I'm trying to go into, all these different things that's going on in my mind. I didn't know how to cope with life. So me being in the hospital or me being with the doctor in that office, at that particular office, that's when I started to understand myself more than I ever understood myself before. All these different years, I've been on autopilot. I just been blocking things out. And that wasn't the greatest thing to do. So when you block things out, you end up becoming something that you don't know where you are. And health-wise, it ends up going the wrong way. So through this stage of life and through my experiences and through things that I went through, the stages and everything that I went through, now I'm able to really testify to the world my true story. testify to the world that I struggled. I didn't know sometimes when I was gonna eat 100%, or I didn't know sometimes when things was gonna come into play of having that normal childhood. But instead of me focus on the not known, I focus on being successful. And that was one of the most beautiful things that I did, was to actually focus on something good. Even if the anxiety was coming at the age of 17, it could have been worse. I could have went to drugs. I could have went to alcohol. I could have did a lot of things. But I'm so grateful with this this series and going through these different episodes of the podcast. Now I can actually tell the world that there is a solution. There is a way out. My way out was my relationship with God, my passion, my determination, and that really drove me into the person I am today. And I'm going to tell anyone who's listening, there's hope out there. You are someone special. You can do anything that you want to do. Put God first in everything. In everything, put God first. When you put God first, He will take the steering wheel and He will be able to take you whatever direction that is good for you. I wanted to be a pediatrician doctor. That was not the way that God wanted me to take. So God said, okay, well, I'm going to put him in the education sector. I'm going to let him navigate psychology. I'm going to let him navigate his soft skills and figure out what he wants to do and become an entrepreneur. And that's what I've been doing. I've been learning myself every day, navigating through different stages of life and understanding now who I really am. I understand the real me. And that is so important. And this is the documentary stage that I'm at right now of understanding who I really am. And me being confident in myself and me not beat myself up because of my experiences, because of my mistakes, because of the things I went through. I became a better person. I am a better person. I believe in myself. I blocked out all that negative noise that people may have talked about me and did different things, try to sabotage my life or different things that was trying to go on. I blocked out the noise and I focused on myself. I focused on having a relationship with God, me and God, talking to Him, listening to His voice, focusing on helping people, the ministry of God, serving people, understanding my purpose, understanding my path, understanding my drive, and being the best person that I can be. If I can do it, you can do it. There's hope out there. Everyone has a documentary, a stage in their life that there's a time now for your story to be told. You can do it now.